Netflix documentary, Mitt. And here with us now, the director of the film, Greg Whiteley. Whiteley followed the Romney family for 6 years and through 2 presidential campaigns. Very good to have you. Congratulations on the film.
Thank you.
6 years?
6
And
years.
a lot of access.
Yeah.
How did you accomplish?
I get asked that all the time.
Don't they usually not want you around?
Yes. Well, the family, for some reason, did. The campaign did not. But because I think I got in with the family slightly before he'd formed an official campaign, I got in just under the wire. I was sort of grandfathered in, and the campaign allowed me to film the family. They wouldn't allow me to film them.
So you're focused on one man in this film, am I correct? What's the focus?
Focused on one man?
Yeah.
Well, one man and his family, Mitt Romney
and you capture incredible moments, including the one in which they thought they had maybe won, and then they realized they've lost. What was it like to be in there?
Well, we begin the morning on Election Day, and he was uncharacteristically optimistic. I've never seen him quite like that. I was with him for 6 years and in his hip pocket during various primaries and caucuses. And even in those primaries and caucuses where he was way out ahead, he would start the day on Election Day. Characteristically, he was pessimistic. But on Election Day, he seemed to have a bounce in his step. To this day, I've wondered if it's part of just trying to get through that last day. They did something that was somewhat untraditional, in which he made a decision to go out and campaign through a couple of battleground states on the last day, which traditionally you don't. Presidents and people running for president on that Election Day will take that day off, and he didn't. And I was wondering if maybe it was just getting geared up. Yeah.
Here's a clip of the Romney family waiting for results on election night.
I feel like I just need to lay down on the ground and throw up. How is everyone so calm? Oh my gosh, I'm just dying. It's finally hitting me. Oh.
Get the panic out.
Panicsville.
Get the panic out.
I really want to go slap him in the face right now. Slap it. As hard as you can. Go for it. Ready? Go for it. I need one on the other side. Match it up. Match it up.
This is funny. Right now, CNN has you're up by 500 votes.
Where? That's not good.
Florida.
That's not good.
Wow.
So, you know, we saw a contrast, knowing the Romneys, between Mitt, the man, the father, the husband, and Mitt, the politician. And I always said, and this is actually about as high of a compliment I can pay somebody, Mitt is a great father. He is a great husband. He is a great man. Not so great a politician at times, and I'm wondering if you see the contrast behind the scenes, you know, when the cameras aren't on him and the country's not looking at him, versus a change when he's in a debate or he's in a public place where he kind of tenses up a little bit.
I think Mitt is old school. But the problem is he looks so young for his age. I think if he were more gray or more wrinkled, some of the colloquialisms and mannerisms, you would say, oh, well, that's charming. And it would belie a person his age. Because he looks like he's in his late 40s or mid-50s, I think maybe his mannerisms or his style as a politician might seem odd. For instance, I think Mitt Romney has this really great quality in that I think it's difficult for him to fake being glad to meet someone or glad to see someone. And if he does, it comes across as fake. And I think in this day and age, we sort of reward politicians for having a sort of cool factor. And I think Mitt Romney is of a generation where you don't value cool in the same way that others do.
You were with him for 6 years. You talked about this nagging doubt and pessimism. For a guy who's been successful, a great family man, a great father, grandfather, obvious success in business, 6 years of watching, where do you think, what's the motivation or genesis of this nagging doubt or pessimism? You talked about the first debate. He was still unable to draw confidence after he did such a good job against Obama. Where did that come from?
I actually think it's one of his great qualities. I think being in the type of success that he's enjoyed, I think has been derived in part by an ability to identify future problems or some landmines that might be out there. And so as he sees his family completely euphoric after this first debate victory, he's very quick to point out, hey, I'm not the first challenger to do well against a sitting president. And he cites history. I don't think it's an overall pessimism that belies an insecurity that Mitt Romney has. I instead look at that and just go, well, that's really astute. That's smart.
Yeah.
Here's a clip of Mitt Romney piecing together parts of his concession speech with his family around him.
So what do you say what do you think you say in a concession speech? Let me read you what I have here at Suits today. To just call President Obama to congratulate him on his victory. His supporters and his campaign also deserve congratulations. I wish all of them well, particularly the President and the First Lady and their daughters. This is a time of great challenges for America, and I pray that the President will be successful in guiding the nation. No one's listening.
So, hey, Greg, for people that are watching this, they may say, how did Mitt Romney not see this coming? Can you explain the weekend before the election when he was in Pennsylvania and 40,000 people were showing up? I mean, the crowds were so crazy that even cold, hard Republican professionals were calling me up saying, I know what the numbers say, but something's happening out on the trail. Talk about that final weekend and the crash that they felt that night.
Well, I think there's a way that you could sort of look back at that and say, how could Mitt Romney not know that he was going to lose, looking at the poll numbers? But as you see right there in those clips, you see thousands and thousands of people turning out, for one thing. The other thing is, what's the point in just growing pessimistic at that point? You've got to gear up. You've got one last stretch. Why not just give it your all and just sort of say, poll numbers be damned, I'm going to do the best I can. And there's no point in being pessimistic right there with 1 week to go, right? You're not going to manufacture those poll numbers or change them, except if you're optimistic and you can pull out some miracle.
Sam Stein.
Yeah, I saw the first hour of this last night, and let me just say what a bunch of spoilers these clips are. I had no idea how it ended. I didn't know he lost. And secondly, I saw the footage of the... That was a joke. Secondly, I saw in one of the footages, there was a son, I forget which Romney son, who you talked to, and he says something to the extent of, I can give you my media-trained answer, or I can give you the honest answer, and you get both of the answers. And I'm wondering from your perspective, as you're filming this, how hard was it to wait until this was released to just say all the amazing access and footage that you had? You must have been wanting to tell everybody about it.
It wasn't that hard. It took me a good 7 or 8 months to edit the hundreds and hundreds of hours of footage that I had. So to that extent, I was locked down in my garage up in Northern California editing this film with my good friend Adam Ridley. So there wasn't time to release this footage before that.
A couple questions. One thing to cover the campaign, I think there's always this sense that on the inside there's secret knowledge, and that they we're talking about this nonsense on TV, but really they know things that we don't. I mean, from those clips, that the conversations they're having are exactly the same conversations that pundits are having on TV. And what did you see that they really knew more? And if people covering them knew things they knew, the coverage would have been different, or were they really responding to the same public information as everybody else?
That was one of the things that I found so interesting. This was my first time inside a campaign like this. I just assumed. Once you become the Republican nominee, you get access to resources and intel that is different than the general public. What was interesting to me is on election night, for instance, they are getting election results the same way we all get election results. Now, of course, during the day, they're getting some intel and some exit polling that perhaps journalists are not privy to. But at the end, when they're trying to figure out whether they've won or lost, they're figuring it out in real time the same way we do.
And they're just sitting refreshing. Did they get approval on the clips, or was this?
No, my arrangement with Governor Romney when I met him was that I would film, but while he was running for president, I wouldn't release anything. So in other words, until he was done being president or done running for president, I couldn't release any of the footage. But once we were done, the footage was mine to do with it as I wanted.
Wow. You can watch Mitt only